Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. Here's the player ratings. Watford 0, Everton 0. As I said before the instant match reaction, I do apologise that this video is about 15 hours late. As I'm sure a lot of you will know, I was at Vicarage Road yesterday, and by the time I'd got home, it was about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, something like that, and I just wanted to go straight to bed, to be perfectly honest with you. It was a pretty dull game of football. It was a pretty boring game of football. It was an opportunity missed for me for Everton to pick up what would have been an absolutely massive 3 points, but also it's important to remember and to understand that it's not the end of the world. 4 points out of Leicester away and Watford away is a really good amount, in my opinion. I've just seen an interesting tweet there saying, had we have taken a point at Leicester and beaten Watford, I think the look at this sort of outcome would be a lot more positive than what it is now. And I think that's important to understand. Listen, 3 points yesterday would have been absolutely fantastic and would have given us a massive leap towards safety, especially given obviously Leeds ended up losing to Chelsea. Given the Watford side, given their injuries, given the fact that they've already been relegated, 3 points yesterday was, I think, the expectation for a lot of Evertonians. But the reality of the situation is that it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. It does add a little bit more pressure to Sunday's game against Brentford, as well as the game against Palace next week. But ultimately, we've just got to go out there on Sunday, give absolutely everything. We as fans have got to make as much noise as we possibly can. There's already an arrangement to greet the players again, as we did before the game against Chelsea and as we've done at Finch Farm a couple of times as well. So I'm sure there'll be thousands of Evertonians in their full voices on Sunday morning before the game, and then hopefully that atmosphere can transfer into the ground once again. And hopefully we can make it louder than it has been before, because that's what we need, and these players need to be able to produce a performance that is significantly better than the one yesterday. Because yesterday I thought, as I said, was quite poor. It was a poor game of football, really, overall. There wasn't many opportunities for either side. It was very dull. I think Everton were the team that were more in control of the game. Certainly in that second half, I thought we looked the more likely to score, but it was never, necessarily a, you can tell we're going to score here. It was just the more we're threatening more, but we weren't really creating many, clear-cut opportunities or clear-cut chances. So anyway, we have done the instant match reaction. If you want to check that out, then please do so. It wasn't very instant. It was more like the 12-hour after match reaction, but we're going to call it the instant match reaction for continuity purposes. This is the player rating, so we're going to get into every player that played last night, and we're going to give them a mark in between 1 and 10. I'm sure you know how it works already if you've watched the player ratings video before. It is pretty self-explanatory, isn't it? Anyway, let's get straight into it then. Jordan Pickford. I'm going to give Jordan a 7 for last night. He didn't really have an awful lot to do, to be fair, Jordan. Watford didn't create much whatsoever. Obviously, they had a weakened side, an injury-ridden side, should we say. There was one moment where there was a bit of a defensive mishap, and I can't remember who it was for Watford, but one of their forwards ended up going one-on-one with Jordan Pickford, and he come out quite proactively, actually come out of his box and ended up making a sliding challenge to win the ball back, and then he had a bit of a moment where he was screaming and shouting at Mason Holgate, but that was the only real moments I can remember of him making any sort of save of any note. Really, again, it was a pretty dull game, and it's already been erased from my memory because of how bad of a game of football it was. But as I said, I can't really remember Jordan making any other real sort of top quality saves. He had a couple of bits to do here and there where he had to be concentrated and he had to be aware, but other than that, there wasn't really much else for him to do. He come out of his 6-yard box a couple of times to collect the ball as well, which was good to see. And yeah, he pretty much dealt with everything as you would have expected. I thought his distribution was good. There was a couple of times when he picked the ball up and he volleyed it straight to Tamari Gray or Anthony Gordon, and he set us up on a counter attack, which was good to see as well. So yeah, Jordan's getting a 7. I thought he done well yesterday. Vitaly Mykolenko can get a 7.5. Thought he had a little bit more to do than Jordan Pickford. But I thought he done it well. Going forward, he was a threat. I think creatively, he needs to work on his delivery into the box and his ability to create chances from wide areas. But he was still a threat. He was still putting balls into the box. He was still getting forward. You can tell he's playing with a lot of confidence at the moment. Defensively, he was fantastic. He was absolutely fantastic, as he has been for 4, 5, 6 weeks now. He, never allowed anything to really phase him. When he had to get back, he got back well. When he had to use his pace, when he had to use his power, he did that well as well. And as I said, I thought he put in a really, really solid performance, never put a foot wrong. And going forward, as I said, he caused Watford problems. He never really put any, deliveries into the box which made you go, oh, that was a great ball in, but he caused them problems. And, he held the ball up well, and as I said, he had a good game. Into the centre backs then, Mason Holgate. I'm going to give Mason a 7 as well. I actually think defensively we done well yesterday. Now, don't get me wrong, Watford didn't offer much going forward, and I think it's fair to say Everton didn't offer much going forward either. But defensively, I thought we done really well. Mason and Michael Keane didn't have much to deal with. But what they had to deal with, they dealt with without any real issue. There was a couple of moments where, Watford were attacking and they were breaking with pace and they were breaking on the counter-attack, and I think Mason Holgate held himself up well. Managed to deal with the pressure, managed to deal with the pace of their centre-forwards. Considering he didn't have a shot on target, I thought the times that he did threaten, he done well to deal with, so he's getting a 7. Michael Keane next to him, he can get a 7 as well, very similarly. Dealt with everything that he needs to do, stepped in obviously in the place of Yerry Mina, who obviously picked up that injury against Leicester. He didn't have as much to do yesterday as he did against Leicester. Thought he was fantastic against Leicester, but I thought he was just solid yesterday. Come in, done a good enough job. As I said, Watford didn't offer anything really going forward, so it's difficult to sit here and say the centre-backs were absolutely unbelievable. But it would be unfair to criticise them because of Watford not having opportunities. They done what they needed to do. They done it well enough, so I think the pair of them deserve a decent mark for that. And then Seamus Coleman, I'm going to give Seamus a 6.5. To be honest with you, I was slightly more disappointed with Seamus than the other members of the defence. I think partly because of the fact that I think going forward he was a little bit negative going forward yesterday. I felt Seamus, there was a couple of opportunities where he could have really burst into a good area or put a good ball in the box, and he turned back and he opted to sort of start again, if you like. And maybe that was because he didn't want to lose the ball. Maybe that was because he didn't want to invite any, unnecessary pressure onto himself. Or maybe, which I thought was the case with a couple of players, maybe he was just tired. Maybe he just felt a little bit fatigued. Maybe he just felt a little bit, shattered. Because obviously he's played twice in a week, and we all know Seamus Coleman playing 3 times in a week isn't really the scenario you want to find yourself in. But again, defensively, I thought he was okay. I just thought going forward he could have been a little bit better. I thought he could have had a bit more agency about him. He could have had a bit more tempo to him. But again, he didn't really make any mistakes. Defensively, he covered himself well. There was a couple of times when he had to use his pace in the defence to stop Watford from a potential opportunity, and he did that well as well. So overall he was okay. He was okay, I suppose. Into the midfield then, Abdoulaye Doucouré. I'm gonna give him a 6 today. Yesterday. Difficult performance for Abdoulaye Doucouré. Really wasn't as in control as maybe we would have liked him to be. Listen, it was a different type of game than the one that we saw against Leicester and the one that we seen against Chelsea. The games against Chelsea and Leicester, we come up against 2 teams that were always going to have the possession, we're always going to have the ball, we're always going to be the team that were in control of the game, in control of the pace and the tempo of the game, and that means Abdoulaye Doucouré's job in those games is to be able to keep up with the pace, be able to keep up with the tempo, be able to, stop their midfields from creating anything, and stop their midfields from getting forward. ultimately break the play up or be that midfielder that, causes a disturbance to the game. And yesterday it was a bit more different. We were the team that had the possession, we were the team that had the ball, we were the team that were seemingly in control of the game, and that meant, Abdoulaye Doucouré needed to put in a bit of a different performance. And I thought he was okay yesterday. He passed the ball okay, he moved the ball okay, used his strength, used his pace okay, but he wasn't as effective as I think he has been in the last couple of weeks, and that was because I think we changed the system and the style. So I'm going to give him in fact, I give him a 6.5. Fabian Delph next to him then. Fabian Delph can get a 6. Again, I thought he was a bit premature with a couple of sliding challenges. I think there was a couple of sliding challenges that he made that you're sort of sitting there thinking, oh, bloody hell, it was sort of, you could read what he was going to do. Effectively, it was very predictable. A couple of them, he managed to win and he managed to pull off, but a couple of them were a little bit too predictable, and that meant that he was then on the floor and Watford were then, breaking forward and trying to counter. But I think he looked tired yesterday, Fabian Delph. I think you could tell that he played, a lot of football, certainly a lot of football for him, considering what he played previously in such a short period of time. No surprise to see him come off for Alan, of course, later on in the game. And yeah, as I said, he was okay. He worked hard, I think. He put himself about. His passing was good yesterday. I felt his passing was a lot better than anybody else's on the field, which was which helped us massively. But I just think, as I said, he looked a little bit leggy. He looked a little bit tired at times. Alex Iwobi, I'm gonna give him a 7.5. Listen, he wasn't massively creative yesterday. He wasn't massively influential going forward. He didn't create an awful lot for the attackers. He didn't create an awful lot for Richarlison. But one thing he did do again yesterday, and this is something that he done really, really well against Leicester, and I think I pointed that out in the player ratings to the game against Leicester, was his defensive work, his defensive duties, getting back and helping out Seamus Coleman. He almost is playing as a sort of second right back at the moment. There was a couple of times where Watford were getting forward and was, using their pace, and you could tell that they were causing a bit of an issue to our defence. And Alex Iwobi just got back and put his body on the line and put himself in front of it and won the ball back. His ball control was good yesterday. He was moving the ball quickly with his feet, got himself out of a couple of dangerous positions as well. And his balls into the box at the other end and his crosses and his delivery into the forward players wasn't great. In fact, it wasn't very good whatsoever, but neither was anybody else's. I think defensively he made up for it by being solid and helping the defence out, and I thought his work rate was good as well. Into the forward three then, Demarai Gray. I'm going to give Demarai Gray a 4 yesterday, if I'm being honest. I don't think he was very good whatsoever. Worked hard, ran round, put himself about, but the reality of the situation is he just wasn't creative enough. And Demarai Gray, I think, along with Anthony Gordon, to be fair, but those two were the players that I think we were all looking at yesterday to provide that bit of quality, to provide that spark, to provide that sort of that moment. That was the difference between us, drawing that game yesterday and winning that game yesterday. And we know Demarai Gray has got the quality to do that. We know he's got the ability to do that. We've seen it before this season on a number of occasions. But he just hasn't really done it much recently. And he didn't do it yesterday. And as I said, I thought he had quite a poor game. Albeit, I thought he looked very, very tired yesterday. I thought it was quite a leggy game. I thought it was a game in which, he eventually did come off for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but I thought he should have come off about 15-20 minutes earlier, to be honest with you, because he was very, very clearly tired. He was losing the ball. He wasn't really creating much, and I just thought he was quite predictable and easy to defend against for large parts of that second half before he ended up coming off. Anthony Gordon then on the other wing. I'm going to give Anthony Gordon I'll give him a 5. It's only fair. I thought he looked a bit more threatening than Demarai Gray. But still, delivery into the box wasn't good enough. Is creative, creatively wasn't good enough. Again, I love Anthony Gordon. I think he's brilliant. His work rate is there, his desire is there, and as I said in the instant match reaction, he has been a real shining light of this season. If it wasn't for Anthony Gordon, we mightn't even be in the position that we're in at the moment. We might be in a worse position. But yesterday wasn't as great as the games. I thought they both looked tired, him and Gray, and I thought they both were very, very, very minimal in what they created or offered in terms of going forward. Yes, they battled and worked hard and won the ball back a couple of times, but for what we needed them to do, and ultimately what they were on the pitch to do yesterday, they didn't do. And listen, I'm happy to give them the benefit of the doubt. They've worked hard recently, they've played well recently. Yesterday just wasn't the case. And then Richarlison, I'll give Richie a 6. He worked hard, he battled, his first touch was good, he pulled himself about, but again, he didn't really have any creativeness, he didn't really have anybody creating chances for him, he didn't really have anybody playing the ball in behind or playing the ball over the top. He didn't really have much, so he just needed to work and battle and fight, and I think he did that. Onto the bench then, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Give him a 5. Come on. Put himself about. Actually held the ball up a couple of times. Well, watching from the stadium, I watched Dominic Calvert-Lewin when he come on. Partly because there was fuck all else to watch because the game was boring, but also because I wanted to watch just the impact that he has on the game, because I knew there'd be some people saying, oh, he was shite if he didn't score. I actually thought he was alright yesterday, but don't get me wrong, he wasn't massively involved. He wasn't massively influential in the game whatsoever, but he held the ball up. He won it in the air a couple of times. He used his body. He put himself in the way. He should have won about 4 or 5 fouls in the first 10 minutes of him coming on, but Mike Dean is an absolute idiot, and we know which football team Mike Dean supports, so there's a reason why he didn't give them fouls. But I thought he done okay. It's a bit of a mad situation with Dom at the moment. We're going to talk about him in another live stream over the next few days or so. But I thought he was okay when he come on. And then Alan, I'll give Alan a 6 as well. Come on, won the ball back a couple of times, held it up, worked hard. Just come on to sort of be a like for Fabian Delph, really, and I think he done that well for the time that he was on the pitch. And yeah, there you go. Frank Lampard, I'll give him a 6, I suppose. I think if I could give any criticism or any sort of, not advice, because I'm not going to give advice to Frank Lampard, but any criticism would be, I think he could have made the substitutes a little bit earlier. I think he could have been a bit proactive with that. Maybe have a bit more trust in other players of the, members of the squad, so that, the players that needed the rest could have gotten a rest. But yeah. And then the fans, I'm going to give the fans a 10 again. Not only because I was there and I was part of it, but because the fans were absolutely unbelievable yesterday. The support, the noise from inside the stadium, outside the stadium, it was just absolutely unbelievable. So there you go. They are my player ratings. Let me know your thoughts on them in the comment section down below. The instant match reaction is up now, so if you haven't checked it out, please do so. We'll be back with the review either later today or tomorrow, so don't forget to look out for that one. Big thank you all for watching. If you have enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe if you're new, leave your comments down below. Massive thanks to everybody for watching live as well, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues. Cheers for watching. See you after.